Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you all the Biafran Golden Child, the real Biafran Golden Child, as he shed more light on the USAID, the involvement of the Nigerian military in using the funds to sponsor Boko Haram, ISIS, ISWAP, and the rest of insecurities happening in Nigeria and also in Biafra land. Fellow Biafrans, without any much further ado, I present to you the Biafran Golden Child, the real Biafran Golden Child. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you hear my voice from. Hope you're all doing good. Hope you're happy. I hope. Well, now we're moving on steadily and happily, progressively into the year 2025. Yes, this is the month of February, and we are full of great expectations for you know our dear United States of Biafra. Yes. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, it's still a pleasure to interact with you all. Still a pleasure again, you know, to communicate with my fellow Biafran uh, members, fellow Biafran brothers and sisters via the Biafra Superstars media. We are always here, to make sure we keep you abreast of, recent happenings, daily happenings, especially the ones that concern our, you know, their our dear United States of Biafra. So, yes, for today's audio, we want to comment on what has been happening ever since Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States, said he was going to, was going to, you know, uh, maybe ban for want of better word, ban the U.S. aids, U.S. aid activities and fundings. He was going to, audit the fundings, and he was going to make sure that such things are no longer going to be happening. He wants to not just reduce the funding, he wants to ban U.S. aid fundings all over the world. And during the course of this, declaration by the United States President, President Donald Trump, it came to light that over 678, million US dollars have been coming to Nigeria. Nigeria have been, coming to Nigeria through the U.S. Foreign Aid Office in the United States Embassy here in Nigeria. Yes, and while investigations were still ongoing, we now discovered, we heard from several quarters, how, in fact, most of these funds coming from the U.S. aid, funds that were meant to build, the arsenal of Nigeria and, fortify Nigeria against terrorist activities, terrorist insurgents groups like Boko Haram, like the ISIS, like you know the Lakarawa, these terrorist groups. We now discovered, unfortunately, that most of these funds have been going down the drain. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, I will shock you here. I will shock you, ladies and gentlemen. I will shock you, sirs and madams. We discovered again, that most of these funds were actually being used to fund, uh, terrorist groups, especially like Boko Haram, instead of coming direct to the coffers of Nigeria, where it will be used, to fortify the country and help it in tackling and handling effectively how to dislodge all these so-called terrorist activities. The funds were in fact being diverted and used to create further insurgency, used to, perpetrate Boko Haram and Co., used to energize them, used to give them weapons, used to monetize them to create further insurgency. Yes, this might shock you, but these are things that we've been hearing coming up from U.S. authorities. So the United States is now investigating what has happened to all the several millions of US dollars which have been sent to Nigeria, given to Nigeria, sent to Nigeria to assist in combating the menace of Boko Haram and Co. Ladies and gentlemen, shock you to hear equally that a lot of reports have been coming from highly placed quarters, even within Nigeria itself. First and foremost, we heard, that in the first instance that Boko Haram initially was being sponsored, given arms, you know, they were being heavily supported and, equipped, by a, a serving president, a serving senator. Yes, not a president, a senator. He was, this particular senator was the one who is the mole, he is the sponsor and the between Boko Haram and other sponsors and its allies. He and his allies were the ones sponsoring and equipping and monetizing and funding Boko Haram and similar, you know, insurgent groups. Of course, the senator has denied vigorously severally, but those are still facts and figures that these things were revealed at a point in the history of this country, and in the usual way of the zoo, it was swept under the carpet by the PNB administration, by, you know, uh, parts of the uh, Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan administration, and of course, this government has thrown his attention elsewhere. But with this matter concerning the U.S. aid now is coming up where U.S. Military generals are confirming that, in fact, against public opinion, in fact, against what people might easily consider as possible, that yes, beginning from the Barack Obama administration, most of the U.S. aid to Nigeria, to Africa in particular, has been deliberately targeted at funding terrorist groups, equipping them, giving them cash, giving them artilleries to make them continue to foment troubles and destabilize regions in Africa. It's a deliberate U.S. policy because they felt if you are not ready to play along with them, accept their policies, of course, you are their enemy. Yes, while the U.S. and Barack Obama administration and the Joe Biden administration came up most times when Nigeria would require arms and ammunition support or purchases, they would decline. America would decline and say, no, we're not selling to you. No, we're not giving you because your human right, you know, uh, your human rights statistics is not encouraging. Equally, we find out that you continue to victimize people who have made choices in life that are different from what uh, your every other person would just accept. In particular, Barack Obama administration, Joe Biden administration eventually refused, refused in its entirety to support Nigerian government against its fights, the Boko Haram, beginning from Jonathan period. In fact, we heard equally that these administrations within the U.S., past administrations, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, were part of those who deliberately, whittled down uh, President Goodluck Jonathan's power and ousted him from power. They made sure he never won, sponsored his opponents, and there was deliberate policy from the U.S. government to make Jonathan pay because, of course, he refused to accept, same-sex marriage, he refused to accept gayism and lesbianism, he refused to accept most of the policies U.S. government were insisting were human rights abuses. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine from several U.S. generals now we're hearing that, in fact, indeed, planes were used by the U.S. government or uh, people attached to the U.S. government, and they were giving, making supplies to Boko Haram right inside the bush. They supplied them arms, ammunitions, and raw physical cash. Yes, we had all this. And of course, in as much as the US have come to deny some of these things and saying they are figments of imaginations of detractors and Donald Trump, you know, uh, sponsored detractors, that it was not true. But ladies and gentlemen, you would agree with me that sometimes, yes, there was a military general, Nigerian military general, who came and said that villagers were reporting to them that deep into the night they used to see helicopters come down and come down inside the bush, inside the Boko Haram hideouts, especially within the Sambisa forest and co. There were helicopters who come, where they were supplying arms, ammunition, modern uh, arms and ammunitions, other weapons of mass destruction to these people, and even fiscal cash will be given to these terrorists who will gather around the helicopters. Yes, local villages, this confirmed that, and the Nigerian serving military uh, general said he can confirm this. He was told villagers always recorded this kind of incidents to them. Yes. So you can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, while our people thought Boko Haram was vigorously being destroyed, being pursued by the Nigerian government under the auspices of the USAID, you can now see what used to happen. You can now see how our Boko Haram was actually having, enjoying themselves. They were having free time. They were having a lot of money in hard currency. They were having modern military equipment, guns and ammunitions, supplied to them at every beck and call, at every opportunity. And that was why they were winning all the time. Every time Nigeria government makes tourist military commanders, every time they made efforts to chase Boko Haram, they came back sorry. They were defeated, and of course, Boko Haram always had, you know, the better of the war, of the attacks, and of any such coalitions and coalitions. Yeah, but another dimension to it, my dear people of Biafra, is what we see in Nigeria. We have always talked about it when we say that when Boko Haram are eventually caught, their members caught, the soldiers arrested, we see a deliberate policy to pardon them, forgive them, and assimilate them back into the military. We saw that severally. Yes, many a time this was clandestine, many a time, sometimes it was open. They said, no, they have been forgiven. No, they've been pardoned. Yes, they have reneged. They have recanted on their membership of Boko Haram. They have pledged loyalty to Nigeria. Therefore, now they have been recruited into the military, into the police force, into organs of government, especially the military uh, in Nigeria. But did you know, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that all this while, when Boko Haram was we heard they were captured. We heard that they have recanted on their insurgency attitude. We heard they have been forgiven. They have been granted amnesty. Did you know? And they have been recruited into the army. We are now finding out, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Biafrans, we are finding out now that these people who eventually, Boko Haram, people who eventually joined the military, are packaged down to the southeast, to Biafra land, to commit mayhem, to commit atrocity, to make sure Biafra land is ungovernable, to make sure peace does not reign, to kill, maim, and destroy, to rape our women, to burn down our cities. These are the people you see at checkpoints. These are those, non-government you see everywhere. And they tell you, you know, peace has eluded the southeast. They tell you, the southeast is burning. Meanwhile, these are the same Boko Haram people that have been captured, that have been touted to have recanted their insurgency behavior, that have been pardoned and duly assimilated into the Nigerian armed forces. They send them down to the east, and they go to the east and commit all kinds of atrocities. They make sure the east is ungovernable, kill, maim, delete our people, burn our houses, rape our women, kidnap our people. Kidnappings have been done. We have seen now how it is being done. Every time they were accusing IPOB, every time they were accusing the ESN, every time they were accusing, you know, the uh, Biafra people of being the ones who are causing mayhem in the East. They said it's Simon Ekpa. Simon Ekpa is the one. Simon Ekpa is the one. Ladies and gentlemen, our Simon Ekpa, our able Prime Minister, has been out of circulation. For why? Because he's undergoing, interrogations within the Finnish uh, military authorities. Yes, he's been, you know, tried, quote unquote, to find out if his activities, you know, in the from Finland to the southeast is inimical to Nigeria. Yet you will agree with me, at every point in time, even till since the day he was arrested, we are still hearing of, you know, negative activities in the southeast. We're still hearing of kidnappings. We're still hearing of killings. We're still hearing of villages being, set ablaze. We're still hearing of, bombardments, killings, and all sorts of incendiary activities. And you want to ask, who are the brains behind this? Who are the brains behind it? Some of the eastern governors, like Professor Soludo, has formed their own, regional security operatives to, make their states governable. Soludo has come up with Agune Chamber. Agune Chamber, as a security outfit. And yet, every other day, killings are going on. Villages are being bombarded, set ablaze, farmlands are scorched down, people are killed and raped and kidnapped. Of course, despite all these so-called private security initiatives of Southeast leaders, these things are still happening. That's to tell you that these people who are doing these things are not spirits. These are people, these are those soldiers that, you know, were initially clearly former Boko Haram members, former insurgents from the north, who, when they capture them, they tell you they have recanted, they are sorry, they have shown remorse. Therefore, we've forgiven them, we've reorientated them, and we have assimilated them into Nigerian military. Ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine how painful it is to discover that most of these people end up in the southeast and come with the full manifesto to make the southeast ungovernable, to kill, to kidnap, to ravage our land. So this U.S. Aid expose, this deliberate effort by Donald Trump, you know, President Donald Trump, to now assess, to investigate the spendings, huge spendings are running to billions of dollars, which they claim is being used, to check Sundance activities in Nigeria, to bring much needed Medicare in Nigeria, to help reduce the cost of Medicare, especially for certain diseases that are very, very expensive to maintain, like HIV, AIDS, you know, all those things that this so-called U.S. aid money or finances or supplies should do is what Donald Trump government is now investigating. So far, several American generals are resigning from office. Several of them have been fired because they have been found wanting. It has been discovered that this very U.S. aid has been a formidable, you know, contraption used to sponsor Boko Haram, to sponsor insurgents, you know, in the north, who will eventually, come to the south and make, Biafra ungovernable, make our place unsafe. Thank you, Donald Trump. Yeah, since you assumed office, we are happy a lot of things have been happening. We are happy to note that you have brought changes. Yes, we're happy to know you have put fear in the minds of people and rulers all over the world because, as far as you're concerned, there's no holds barred. You said it from the very inception. It's not going to be business as usual, even in America, even the USA to Africa. Yes, Donald Trump said enough is enough. We have to look at the activities of people like Barack Obama, like former President Joe Biden. What were the activities actually? All these aids, all these so-called, what were their deliberate actions towards Africa, especially towards Nigeria, because of course Nigeria refused to sign, gay marriages. Because of course Nigeria refused to legitimize, you know, lesbianism, uh, all kinds of abnormal things we still describe as abnormal human relationships. Yes, Donald Trump, we appreciate you. We stand by you. Yes, you have said, as far as you're concerned, in America there would only be two sexes, a he and a she, a man and a woman. There's no in between. There's no transgender. We applaud you for that. Equally, you have come now to say this U.S. aid to Africa, especially to places Nigeria, will be vigorously investigated to know who was getting the money, to know how the money was being used, all the supplies. I thank God, so far so good. You have created the awareness. Everybody now knows, no matter how they try to deny it. Yes, we now know that in actual fact, yes, some of these foreign countries, like America, the other countries, EU countries, were actually, you know, the brains, the sponsors behind Boko Haram and other, incendiary groups, insurgent groups. Yes, they were the ones who were buying them sophisticated weapons. They were the ones who were funding them, giving them fiscal cash. A lot of videos been propagated by the Boko Haram people when they have committed their mayhem. Will show you where they have sophisticated machine guns, all manners of latest, guns. And of course, you see them brandishing dollars, euros, and pounds at every point in time. That is a very, very, you know, apparent, apparent uh, reason to even investigate this U.S. aid further. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can now see that many a time when Boko Haram, we thought they had arrested them, of course they grant them pardon, and the next thing we hear that they are remorseful and they have recanted insurgency attitudes. They are now absorbed into the Nigerian military. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, these Boko Haram people end up as the so-called military that is eventually posted down to Biafra land to orchestrate mayhem, to cause all manners of wickedness, to eliminate people, to rape, to kidnap, and to destroy. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should open our eyes. Enough is enough. Donald Trump's coming has exposed a whole lot of things, and more things should be exposed. More things should be exposed. Yes, now Trump, we're happy for you. We're happy you are there. We're happy you recognize our Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. We're happy you're interested in the case of our Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa Njoku. We're happy you have told the Finnish authorities, hey, gentlemen, you make sure you ensure that the rule of law is maintained. And that anything you're doing, fundamental human rights of people must be considered. You have equally shown a very more than keen interest, more than casual interest into, the trial for maximum leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We're happy, Donald Trump, that you are a no-nonsense man, and the world knows that you have come in. Yes, you said you want to make America great again. Equally, you want to ensure that the world is a better place for every one of us, including the United States, people of the United States, sovereign United States of Biafra. Yes, we're happy. All the leaders around the world, negative rulers, fake leaders, they are jittery, they are panicking. But of course, it's just a matter of time. All of them will make their open confessions, and we'll see who are those people who actually are sponsoring, making sure the world does not live in peace, making sure Nigeria does not, especially the southeast, continue to have day by day kidnappings, day by day atrocities committed, day by day killings. We shall soon know that we are not afraid. Donald Trump, you're doing the right thing. We all support you. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's how it is now. Consider these things, think on these things, and don't be, a bystander. Don't be deceived anymore. We now know. We now know where Boko Haram people who are, who are sponsored, who are captured, who are eventually pardoned, who are eventually brought into the Nigerian army. We now know where they end up and why they end up. They end up in Biafra land strictly and under a strict instruction to make Biafra land ungovernable. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all as we, get another audio for you. Thank you.
Biafra must be restored, for there is nothing the enemies can do about it. You brought Biafra that light may come into Africa. You gave us hope because we are in a continent of hopelessness. And by thy grace, Biafra shall be restored. We shall be resurrected. We shall crown our efforts with the glory by the grace of the Most High Himself. We are not strong. We do not pretend to be strong. All we do is to submit ourselves to your will, that your will may be done upon our lives. We have lost many people. We have lost so many good people. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. We shall honor them, and for their sake Biafra will come. Because we are wandering all over the world, hoping against every hope that things will turn around for the better. It has never turned around for the better. Instead, it is getting worse. Please do not abandon your children. You have given us a commission, and we must accomplish it in our lifetime. Our enemies are equally important because they must listen. Those who do not love the truth must listen. Those who are beholden to darkness, they must also listen. For we are here to bring light upon a very darkened continent without Biafra. Africa is nothing without Biafra. There is no difference between a black man and a wild animal in the forest. We say every shred with every ounce of conviction. I welcome each and every one of you. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Radio Biafra. This is how we do it. We magnify the name of the Most High before we do anything. That is why we are exceptionally formidable. That is why